In part 1 of us on Hosea chapter 1, we emphasize the fact that God's love is agape love, and that He loves even when we do not deserve His love. The second thing we emphasized was the fact that when you belong to Him, He can use you to demonstrate His love to others. Because that's what He did with Hosea. Told him to go and marry a prostitute. And he saw, verse 3 says, or Hosea chapter 1, so he married Gomer, daughter of Diblaim, and she conceived and bore him a son. So that's the first lesson that God wanted to use Hosea to demonstrate to the world. Second thing is, He wants to use His children to speak to Israel. Verse 4 says, then the Lord said to Hosea, call him Jezreel, the first son he got, because I will soon punish the house of Jehu for the massacre at Jezreel, and I will put an end to the kingdom of Israel. In that day I will break Israel's bow in the valley of Jezreel. Can you imagine? God tells you to call your son what you would not do. He says, call him Jezreel. So that people ask, why are you calling Jezreel? Because Israel, the land of Israel, will cease to be a nation. I'm going to destroy it. So, can you see what that is? And you need to ask yourself, would you be the kind of a person who can obey that? I think there are several things that are real challenges here. Number one, it doesn't mean that the son Jezreel himself is going to be destroyed. It's just a name. And we need to be careful thinking that when we call our children good names, that necessarily means what the name means. Or to think that because a child is called a bad name, they have a curse. These children of Hosea are called real bad names. But they themselves are not. We don't read anywhere where they have a problem. You know, another guy was called Pain. Jabez. His name is Pain. God blessed him, enlarged his territory without changing his name. So these people that are changing their names would have to look for scriptures to find out. Only a few people whose names were changed, like Saul becoming Paul, or Sarai becoming Sarah, or Abraham becoming Abraham. But the Bible is full of characters, many, many characters. And they are not changed. So you need to understand your name does not necessarily prevent blessings or bring blessings. You need to walk with God, the blesser, for you to receive His blessings. It doesn't necessarily come from your name. Here is a name, Jezreel. What is the message? God is going to break Israel's bow in the valley of Jezreel. And I'm going to destroy the house of Jehu, the king then, because of how he massacred in Jezreel. I'll put an end to the kingdom of Israel. That's the meaning of the firstborn's name. Verse 6, Gomer conceived again and gave birth to a daughter. Then the Lord said to Hosea, call her Lo Ruhamah, which means not loved. For I will no longer show love to Israel, that I should at all forgive them. Yet I will show love to Judah, and I will save them, not by bow, sword, or battle, nor by horses or horsemen, but I, the Lord their God, will save them. The next child has a worse name. Can you imagine calling your son? Not loved, not loved, come, not loved, where are you? That's the name of the child. Because when you say Lu Rahama, that is the Hebrew for not loved. But Hosea obeys and calls the name, the girl, not loved. Every time you call the name, you remember something that has nothing to do with her. That God will no longer show love to Israel. The son reminds Israel that they are going to be destroyed. The daughter reminds Israel that God has stopped loving them. Remember, we are talking about this God who loves the unlovable. But I keep telling you, a time comes after he had pleaded with Israel, he's not telling them. Time is up. And the name of the daughter of Hosea should tell you time is up. You need to come to where you are able to see that I will destroy you. So, and all of us need to understand this. That God is a God of love. He is agape. But he is also a holy God. And because he is holy, he is holy and just. He cannot ignore sin. He must punish sin. And the name of the daughter of Hosea reminds Israel that time is up. Maybe that's what you also need to ask yourself. You have kept sinning, coming back, like you can play around with God. You need to remember the name of the daughter of Hosea and be told you can't continue that way forever. And you may be continuing to play around, backsliding, forsliding, side-sliding, never sure about your relationship with God. And that happens to be the time you die. And death is permanent. If you die a Christian, you go to live with the Lord. If you die backslidden, you burn in hell eternally. So it's not something that you can say, I'll come back when I'm older. No. You have no timing. You've not agreed with timing when he is calling you home. The timing of when you call you home. So it will be important that you understand that. So the name of the daughter reminds you. A time will come that the loving God will stop loving. Verse 8. After she had weaned Ruhamah, Gomer had another son. Then the Lord said, call him Lo-Ammi, which means, not my people, for you are not my people, and I am not your God. What is the name of Lo-Ammi? You are not my people. In other words, I not only am going to destroy you, I do not love you, you are not my people. And it's important to understand, I know there is a big debate about once a Christian, always a Christian. But one thing that's clear in the book of John is the letter of John, it says there are some who finally left. Why did they leave? They were not part of us from the beginning. And we need to understand that clearly a time can come when you have been, quote unquote, walking with the Lord for years. Then you decide not to walk with him and to do wrong things. And you are still thinking, he's a forgiving God. The name of the second son of Hosea is to remind you that God can stop relating with you. And you may have no relationship with God. And therefore he is free. You end up punishing you and destroying you. Lo-Ammi, not my people. In Gospel of John, chapter 1, verse 11 and 12, he says, I came to my own people. Yeah, they are his people. But his people did not receive him. But to those who believe me, who believed him, he gave them the authority to become the children of God. In other words, the ones who were not previously of God will now become a people of God. So it is possible for you who is a people of God, who is part of the people of God, to stop being the people of God and to be destroyed. But that will not be because God chooses. That's why he's giving them warnings. That's why he is using Hosea to warn them. So they can understand that time is up and come back to God. Because God does not want to destroy us. He actually wants us to walk in righteousness. Then verse 10 says, Yet the Israelites will be like the sand on the seashore, which cannot be measured or counted. In the place where it was said to them, "You are not my people," they will be called children of the living God. The people of Judah and the people of Israel will come together. They will appoint one leader and will come up out of the land, for great will be the day of Jezreel. Wow. After all that, getting the first son saying, "I'm going to destroy Jezreel," getting the daughter and says, "I do not love Israel," to the third one, "You are not my people," he is prophesying there is still a future. I'll not destroy you completely. There is a future. And the future has 3 marks. Number 1, I'm going to increase your number. After destroying you, I'll increase your number. And you'll be so many, out of the remnant, there will come so many that you'll be like the sand of the seashore that cannot be measured or counted. And then number 2, people will now know, these people must belong to God. They are the same ones that have been destroyed and not my people. But now God will take you back. And you say, "You are my people." You'll be called the children of the living God, despite the destruction that he had promised Jezreel. He will leave a remnant. Then verse 11 is saying, the people of Judah and the people of Israel will come together. So thirdly, there's going to be such a renewal, such a revival, that Israel and Judah will be back to one country. And when you actually believe that God has made you one country, you will rest assured that God's goodness will continue to be with you, and he is going to bless you and direct you all the days of your life. That's what he promises. That even at the worst times when he does destructive things, he actually still changes and loves. And it's wonderful to just know about this love that can continue even after punishment, even after destruction. There is hope. And we need to realize he's a God of hope. That's what we are learning. That it will be important to trust in God, to walk with him, to depend on him, and to know that in his wisdom, he will finally bring good out of all that experiences that he brings our way. Let us trust him and walk with him all the days of our lives. And let us trust that in his wisdom, he is going to help us and teach us new things, because the God of love, agape love, that loves even when things go wrong.